Good evening, everybody. It is time to go flush in the pocket. And I'm Derek Michaud, and we've got a major guest tonight, a PBA Hall of Famer, 27-time champion, a 300 bowler on TV, also shot 289 on TV, from Indianapolis, Indiana, Mike AULBY. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm great, Derek. Thanks for having me on. I apologize. I'm in the black screen, but I'm not a
That's all
real
right.
tech person here. So,
That's okay.
but it's really,
And the first, I should also mention, the first bowler to ever win the PBA Super Slam. Uh,
yeah. I mean, then shoot, recently Belmo going for the second one already. So, but yeah,
yeah,
no, it was exciting.
yeah, absolutely. So the PBA Super Slam is the U.S. Open, the World Championship or National Championship, the Tournament of Champions, also the Masters and the Touring Players Championship. So there you go. So we're gonna ask you some questions about your career, and then we're gonna do a little fun flush in the pocket thing. So I guess the first question is, what was your best moment on tour?
Oh, wow. I mean, I kind of always look at that question in a couple different areas. I start with, obviously I've been very fortunate on the tour, but my first, would obviously be my first title. I mean, when you go out there never knowing what to expect and to win the PBA National Championship as my first title in my 11th tournament and beating Earl Anthony. I mean, there's something to be said about being young and naive and not knowing the what you're doing out there yet. So that is one, and then of course shooting the perfect game on TV, which is something I never thought I would ever do. That one was just such a highlight, and still enjoy watching that. And then of course completing the Super Slam and Triple Crown and those things. Those are all huge.
Yeah, I actually watched the 300 today, actually
Oh
before I watched the Bruins game. So that was I mean, that tournament. You're in the PBA Hall of Fame. That tournament itself should be in the PBA Hall of Fame. I mean, that was pretty
yeah, that
big for you.
quite the day. Yeah, I mean it's and it's kind of funny because I you know the 289 in Green Bay when I had the front 10. I mean, once you don't finish a game off like that and shoot the perfect game, you think, wow, that was probably my chance. And but then to come back in Wichita
Mhm.
and interesting story about the Wichita one, if you don't mind me going a little
Of course, go
sideways,
right ahead. It's your
but
podcast.
you know.
Tonight.
But it's always fun. I always enjoyed the shows and making the shows, so I'd always go as early as I could to hang out with the crew and just to get the feel of it, because you don't make it there enough, let alone very very often. So I tried to enjoy the whole show all the time, and so for me, I would always, when I made a show, I whatever ball I used most of the week, I would usually drill a ball that hooks more than it does, and a ball that hooks less, so that when I got on TV, I'd have options. And being the leader that day, I got to come over and throw a few shots before my actual match. And so I really didn't have a very good look, and was not feeling very comfortable. So I pulled out the ball that went a little longer, and my last four practice balls right before the title match started, I threw four strikes.
Mhm.
Uh, then I shot 300 with it, and it's never touched the lane again. I
Wow.
retired after that.
Do you still have it though?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I still
Nice.
have balls I've shot in 300, 800, or won titles with. I still have them all. So it was Brunswick Rhino LE.
Hmm. Wow. I mean, that is awesome. Now, how many Jason Couch says he used to carry 30 bowling balls on tour. How many balls did you carry on tour?
Yeah, 30 to 40. Yeah, somewhere there. I think the most I ever drilled in one season was about 115.
Do you drill your own stuff?
No, no.
Okay.
It's one of those things where I know what it does. I let my ball be my guide, and I really try not to get too caught up into that, just because I didn't want to overthink it.
Mhm.
And the guys on tour that we had, Billy Hall and Dave Smart, and the people like that, the coaches, they helped a ton. And just like the guys that are out there now, Art McKee, was one, and Rick Benoit. And I mean, we had such great people out there that can guide you.
Right. That's excellent. So What was your worst moment on tour?
I usually try to forget those, but I go back to one, and it's really not worse. It's just I bowled a bad game, but I had some early success, and so I made the show in Baltimore in 1980 on the East Coast there, and I had pretty good success the first 3 or 4 shows I bowled on, and I ended up shooting 140. And I didn't call home for a week. I was so embarrassed, and little did I know. I mean, there'd be a lot worse games than that after that, but not necessarily on TV. But so that's the worst things. I mean, there's disappointments and things like that, but it was one of those things that when those disappointments happen, you really had to just kind of like my theory on when I bowled was, once it's out of your hand, you can't change it. Change it. It's history. So move on to the next one. So that's kind of how I tried to play it.
Oh, there you go. So we got Paul in the chat, and I don't know if you can you see that, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, and then so let's see. It says, I do not believe that you've competed in any of the new format when the PBA was restructured.
My last year was when the new PBA came on.
Right.
I made a couple of match plays, but not shows when they went to the best of 3 and whatever it was, best of 5 matches and those type of things. But I bowled my last year was when the PBA just got taken over.
Okay. He asks this question. I'm not sure. In your prime, what would be I'm not sure. Your ideal format, I'm assuming.
I mean, the more games, the better.
Right.
You always felt like you could hopefully figure it out at some point, and then put together some good rounds and get up there. I always enjoyed the major formats and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Right. So okay, so you were PBA president right around when you shot the 300 and possibly the 289. What did you want to accomplish for the tour, and did you accomplish it?
Well, I mean, I think you always feel like you're never finished in those respects. I mean, it's very difficult to, as president. I mean, you rely on the PBA to, you're basically the president of the players, and even though it's the PBA, and so you try to make sure. I guess my main goal then was to show everybody so that we would market ourselves as we're the most successful professional athletes that were. I thought that was one of our biggest attributes as a tour and as a player, was the fact that people could be inches from us, and the guys were so personable, and where most sports you can't get anywhere near them. So I thought that was probably our biggest attribute, and we should really push that. That was probably the biggest thing I tried and wanted to market. I was more on the the marketing side and the professionalism side, and we had some pretty good people back then in the PBA and the staff that would continue to run really good tournaments. And but as you know, as a player, I mean, it's always difficult to keep play the middle and know that you're doing what's good for the proprietors, you're doing what's good for the hosts, for the sponsors, for the guys, the pros, and that. So it's a very difficult position to be president. We've had some great ones, and George Pappas, I can remember, was probably one of the best, and Johnny Petraglia.
There you go. So look, I get being good enough to be a pro bowler and making it out on tour and being successful and winning titles. But for you need to be focused and stuff like that. But you kind of took it to a whole new level with your mental game. A lot of people would say, listen, if I'm on a 5-man team and I'm giving the ball to one guy to make the clutch shot, it's Mike AULBY, because your mental game was out of this world. So why were you so clutch in certain situation, and were you like that in league, or was it just please tell us about that.
Well, I actually haven't bowled league since 1983. So it was one of those things for me. It was just, I felt my mental game could get me through any faults I had in my physical game, because my mental game would allow me to keep pushing myself and push myself till I figured something out. Um, and it helped me finish games off to where the fill ball was as important as the first frame, because it's count. And you'd be surprised how many times that, 7 count on a fill ball comes back to haunt you. Either that those 3 extra pins, you missed the cut, or you missed a check, or you never know what that turns into. But I think through the years, especially towards the end of my, last quarter of my career, and maybe halfway through, I actually met with personal psychologist Eva Burridge. Eva was married to Bruce Hamilton, who was on tour and won a title. And so Eva gave me this. She always laughed at me because I said it was a 100-question test, and it really was probably, I think, only 25 or 30. But it's kind of personality test, and from that, she was able to derive, some of the issues I might have or not have. And when I started working with her, we developed, a pre-shot routine and things like that really, because she noticed I would have ups and downs in tournaments, and which, it's easy to do out there, when it's going good or bad. So I worked really hard on developing my pre-shot routine to where, when I did all my thinking back off the approach before I ever stepped on it. So the minute I stepped up on the approach, I would tell myself heel toe, and that would tell me to keep all my weight back on my heels, and that way I wouldn't lose my leverage or any of my power. Then I'd throw in the one I would finish with would be watch your target all the way through till you see your ball roll by it. This would keep my eyes on my target, my follow through low and long, and give me good projection and the ball down the lane and save its power. And then in the middle of those two points, if I was trying to do something else where, keep your palm up and open, or, keep your thumb straight, or, certain things like that. If I was trying to play a trick, not my A game or something different, I would throw that in there. But you'd be surprised. I mean, it's kind of cliche, because when you'd say it, are you in the zone? Well, especially if you look back at the 300 game, which you watched today, I mean, in Wichita, and am I nervous? Oh, yeah, oh, you bet I am. I needed the first strike in the 10th to win against David Ozio. And, but once you go into that self-talk, I mean, it is, you're put yourself into a zone to where every shot felt like it was the same, whether it was the 10th, the 11th, or the 12th. And once I do that, and that's where I really started to excel when I figured that out.
Yeah, and I mean, that was a great. I mean, that Wichita tournament was great, and we're gonna kind of go off the sheet here. What would you rather do if I said, okay, Mike, you could either make a 10 pin to win a title or strike in the 10th one time? What would you rather do? Or a 7 pin, I guess, in your case.
Oh, okay. Now that changes the whole picture.
Okay.
Yeah. The 7 pin, I had trouble with 7 pin at times. I mean, early in my career, I missed 2 7 pins in Paris, France to lose to Tommy Baker in the Grand Prix of Paris. And, there's probably 3 or 4 matches I lost by flag in one of those suckers. And, so yeah, the 7 pin just, it takes on a whole different mental outlook. So, yeah, the strike ball, if you're in it to win it, if you're in it to win it, and you need a strike, you're lined up if you got an opportunity to win the title. So I would probably rather throw a strike.
Excellent. So he meant you, Mike. We're talking to Mike AULBY. We got 3 or 4 viewers watching. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're talking to Mike AULBY, and he mentioned the Green Bay tournament. We're going to talk about that coming up in a few minutes here. So you were on tour for a long time and through many ball companies. Which company did you match up with the best?
Different times, different ones. I mean, I was with actually full-fledged Brunswick staffer in part of 81, part of 80, or all of 82 and part of 83. And then I left. And I really like to do just the free agent thing, to where I could use whatever ball I wanted when I wanted. Because, I'm amazed at, Johnny and Parker and anybody that was on a long time staff, to be able to do the things they do, all through their career with it, hardly any ups and downs. And, but to me, it was a mental thing too, where I enjoyed using whatever I thought would work. If I didn't have that confidence that I had in my hand, what I felt like I needed, then it became difficult to not just try to throw the perfect shot every time, which is a bad place to be.
Mhm.
You feel like you have to be too perfect, and then you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and you become more robotic than you become free and loose with the ball.
So you made 3 telecasts using Columbia 300.
Oh,
Uh, what's that?
I like Columbia for sure. I mean, I
Yeah.
like Brunswick, and I won one title with an AMF ball.
Mhm.
Uh, won the World Open one year with an angle, and but I had success with. I was the first one to win with a Firebolt
Mhm.
in '85 in Long Island, the Garden City Open, and
Mhm.
actually it was Old Spice Open then. But
Right.
so I used anything and everything. If I thought I could win with it, I'd throw it.
Okay. So so the telecasts you made with Columbia were the Tar Heel Open, the outdoor event, and the Silicon Valley Open, which you actually won. Did Columbia 300 make a deal with you, or was that just something that was, hey,
Uh,
I want to throw
I had
this?
a shirt deal. A shirt deal only, so I could use whatever ball I wanted.
Okay, cool,
Yeah. I
very
did
good.
they just kinda like when I won the Silicone, Open there, Silicon Valley against, Jason Couch,
Hmm.
I used I think it was what was it? Something that didn't hook very much,
Hmm.
the pro hook, or some people called it the no hook, which, it went pretty long and straight, so
Yeah, it's Cerebral in
yeah,
California. Your touch on that telecast was really good. Why'd you match up so well? Because I believe you were the number 2 seed.
right.
Why'd you match up so well on that show?
I was able to float it. I was able
Mhm.
to not hit up on it, and that was key for me always because my ball speed is a little softer than a lot of people. I was fairly soft with it, so it was so important for me to keep my hand low and long and not hit up on it. Because if I hit up on it, I wanted to jump early and break loose. But I was able to just kind of get that ball through the front and then save its power to the end and tripped a couple sixes with which Jason Couch, he and Jason always give me a hard time about tripping sixes, but I had some good touch. I thank you for that.
Yeah, and Jason, I mean, obviously he's a Hall of Famer now, and he gave you the ultimate respect when I can't remember, yeah, if it was a cakewalk or did you have to
No, close. Yeah, it was close.
oh, it was close. Okay. So I think he left a 6 pin in the ninth or something like that. And he pointed at you and said Hall of Fame. Then he pointed at himself, said not in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, he.
What did that mean to you?
Because I had just tripped the six, so and we always laughed about it. That I said, "Hey, your six pin was a little high. Mine was perfect." So it's like anything else. You take those breaks and run with them, and that's what you do. But no, Jason is one of the classic guys out there. I mean, just
Mhm.
so much power and in his younger days when he didn't have knee problems and things like that. I mean, in the day where the two-handers, create so much, power, except for EJ Tackett. I mean, EJ is able to kind of do the similar things. I mean, Jason can do those type of things.
Yeah. So Paul's got a question here. Let's see. Uh, let's see. I understand what you're saying about being a free agent, um, but don't some players? Uh, can you see that question? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's true. I mean, it depended on the company and the time in your career and what they'd be willing to pay for you. Like I said, I was with Brunswick in '81, two, and part of '83, and then I was with them again in '96, '97, and it just depends. I mean, if you feel like that will offset. I mean, that's what I was looking for. What it might offset or cost me if I didn't use something that I thought I needed to use bowling ball
Mhm.
wise. So a
Yeah.
couple times in my career I tried it and it once I left on my own, the other one I got fired. So because they didn't say I didn't produce enough, so that's what happens. It's like any other, sport like that.
Sure, absolutely.
Which I
You actually did one of the best Brunswick commercials with you, Randy Peterson, Parker Bone.
yeah.
I mean, you guys did some pretty awesome commercials there. All right, so you shot 300 in '93, and all like you said, you shot 289 in Green Bay. Um, After you shot your 289, did you think to yourself that you will shoot 300 someday on TV, or do you just never think about that?
Yeah, that's one of those things you don't want to. At least for me, I didn't want to think about that because it kind of got me off what I was there to do. And but in Green Bay, I mean, I had one of those looks just all week, with that with the purple Rhino Pro, and it just, I mean, one of those shots where the ball just rolled up and just carried tremendously. So, the one ball I leave the 3-pin, I think it was, and it just, I might have tripped down to the 9. I can't remember
Yeah, it
now.
was a 9. Yep.
Yeah, and it was light. So
Hmm.
I just, one of the things, I glided it through the front too quick and had speed up too quick. So, but yeah, I truly thought that, that was my opportunity to do it.
Hmm.
Uh, because it was something that, not that you sit there and look back before you start on tour and go, hey, I'm going to win the TFC. I'm going to win the PBA National. I'm going to shoot 300 on TV. I'm going to, at least I didn't. I don't think anybody does it that way. So, and I never really considered the 300 game because, there's just not that many of them.
Hmm.
And so when I got that close and, you don't get it. It was, and the only thing that kept it from being a negative for me was it was my 20th title. So,
Hmm.
uh, it was exciting to win because of my 20th title, and that became a nice banner to have. And I fortunately there at the lanes, I got all the pins that were in the rack, and I brought those home and had trophies made out of them, gave them to the people who had helped me all throughout my career. And so that was it was a big thing, even though the one little negative was that I didn't finish it off. But no, I
Hmm.
never thought I would shoot 300 on TV and to have a second chance at it. Now, Sean Rash seems to throw them fairly regularly, but
Yeah.
which is phenomenal. I mean, that
Yeah.
anybody can multiple 300 games on television. But and I guess was it Francois Lavoie has done the same thing, I
Right.
believe. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah. There's been, I guess, a couple
sure.
of people that, yeah, a few people have shot 300,
Yeah,
multiple
but that
300s on TV.
really is.
Yeah. Oh, really. So in Green Bay, you had a block. Might have been the third. I don't know. A 6-game block of 1577. You shot 258, 245, 258, 300, 237. What about that lane condition was so? Why did you match up on? I don't like wooden lanes, but why were you so clutch in that tournament?
Well, I think and I had bowled well the week before. It's funny, you start to get on little streaks. I had bowled the week before. I think we are in San Antonio or somewhere like that, and I finished in the top 10. And I came out of nowhere to come up and get in the top 10. And tournaments like that really seem to give, at least they did for me, gave me a lift, and
Mhm.
it carried on, into that weekend to Green Bay. But the look I had was one of those where the ball would kind of roll out and stop, it just stopped in the right spot all week. That strike spot. I just had that spot,
Mhm.
but I was able to stay consistent and throw the shots and just continue to come out each block and be ready, and started out with my striking shoes on. And uh, summer tour is always a little more relaxing, a little quieter. It seems like there's not as much pressure, even though it's a tournament and you're
Mhm.
bowling. But summertime always seemed to be a little different for me. It just seemed to be a little more relaxing.
So now, did you ever shoot close to 1577 again in another block, or was it?
Uh, Peoria, I've got the 42 game record, I think, for
Mhm.
or one of those. I've got, and also in Baltimore, I shot one with a fire quantum in Peoria was 96 or 97, I think, somewhere in there.
Okay.
That was the green piranha, and so yeah, I set a couple records there, and so far nobody's broken them because they don't bowl those 6-game blocks anymore.
Oh, what it's all, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, what do you
Yeah.
think of the new format, like the new PBA? I mean,
I went out and watched a couple of rounds of the U.S. Open. I know you talked to Parker a lot about it a couple of weeks ago. I saw, and
yeah.
yeah, I mean that was just crazy. I mean, to have basically a couple shots on your starting lane before you get started, and that's the last time you practice on on the actual pairs you're bowling on. That always makes it interesting. It's hugely challenging, I think, but the way the lanes change nowadays, I mean, with the amount of power they use and the equipment they use, and I mean, they just peel the oil right off the lane, and some of the equipment they use, and it's quite a different game.
Yeah, definitely is. So, yeah, you mentioned Parker. He actually talked about you because he said so. The next two questions are toughest opponent on tour, easiest opponent on tour. He said that you had or Jason Couch had your number. Who was your toughest opponent on tour?
Um, I think that they every guy you met out there could beat you at any one time. So that always kept you honest out there, and made you respect everybody that you bowled up against. I mean, the toughest one for me to bowl against was my brother-in-law Steve Cook.
Hmm.
Um, Only because we were very close friends, we were family, and so I would always try to find a way to get my mind set to really give it everything I had, and it was just always hard to bowl Steve, because we spent so much time together with our families and all, and so it made it difficult for me to get that second gear in my mental game going.
Yeah, is he still bowling on? I mean, I know he's obviously not on tour, but is
No,
he?
he is right now I think he was bowling league, but his knees are in bad shape right now. He bowls the USBC Open Championships with us last
Excellent.
several years, and we bowl with a group and just have fun out there. And so he's actually picked up archery again, and he's doing that now. But yeah, Steve, we actually our family spends Christmas with Steve and his family at his house.
That's
Uh,
excellent.
39 out of the last 40 years. So.
That's excellent. Now, are you're allowed to bowl the USBC Opens with no problems? I mean, because I know that you have so many PBA titles and you're a PBA
Yeah,
Hall of Famer.
yeah, it's I am, even if there was a problem, there'd be no threat from me, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
I bowl those 9 games, and that's about the only 9 games I bowl a year.
How's your game? Like, what do you shoot over there?
Last year I bowled. Now Bob Handley, if you remember Bob's a good friend, and I talk
Hmm.
to Bob all the time. And Bob would always say, "Hey, how much practice are you doing before you go bowl the USBC?" I said, "Well, how many balls do you get on each lane before the team event? Because that's if I go to the garage, if it fits, it goes, type of thing."
Hmm.
So last year I shot 1759, and I had 14 opens.
Wow.
Yeah, I threw some strikes, but
Hmm.
yeah, a lot of 4 6 10s.
Really
Yeah.
interesting.
Getting that extra
So,
bite on the back. My doubles partner is Bill Chrisman, so
mhm,
it's we have
from
our group
from
has one.
Storm. Yeah. Wow. That's that's uh that's interesting. Who was let's see. Who was your easiest opponent on tour?
Yeah, I don't think there are any of those.
Well, no, but
Not on tour. No. Yeah, there was like I said, it didn't matter who you were bowling. They could definitely trounce you no matter what, no matter how you bowled. So if you weren't prepared when you got out there, you were looking at the wrong end of the game.
right. So for the longest time, you were the only bowler to ever complete the Super Slam. Why so much success in majors? I mean, it seems like another gear shifts for you in the majors. Why is that?
Yeah, I think I mean, I enjoyed the longer formats. The more games, the better. I always felt that the more games, the more time you have to figure them out, and plus you get more time to give yourself a lead as well. But there's something about the majors that really just, for me, you give it your all, because those are kind of the topper echelon of what you're trying to do out there. And it's there's nothing like the tournament of champions. There's nothing like winning on the tour. I mean, there is no better rush than that feeling when they hand you the check and the trophy, and it's like, wow, it's just such a mental rush. But the minute the lights get turned off and the show's over, I mean, we are all back to zero,
Hmm.
starting on Monday. So you really just cherish those moments when I had the opportunity, or when anybody has the opportunity to do that. But yeah, the majors, there's just so much more. The dignitaries show up from the industry to watch, and it's just there's just so much more to it, and it really gets you going.
Yeah. What was your worst tournament performance?
Hmm. Oh gosh, I mean, there's so many. Which one do I choose? Like I said, it's there were many when you would be under a lot. I mean, my very first tournament I ever bowled in on the tour, my parents gave me a trip to Las Vegas for the Showboat Invitational in 1979 to go and throw a bowl in a PBA tournament. So I went out there. I'm 18, don't know anybody, and I mean I ended up averaging 190. So, but it was an eye opener for me, you know. But then 6 months later, we bowled the PBA National Championship there, and I won my first title. So, but that was an eye opener. But you know, there were so many tournaments where you just didn't line up, didn't match up, didn't feel good, didn't whatever. You know, there are a lot more of those that you, like I said, you just kind of after it's out of your hand, you just move on. You just try not to dwell on those at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely.
Now you might look at three, like when you, like my first year, I had the bowl in the rabbit squads, you know, just to make it into the field. I bowled 10 that year, and I missed 3. I made 7 out of 10, but the 3 I missed in a row. So it's a long 3 weeks to be driving around and not even get to make the starting gate.
What did you think of having a rabbit squad for the U.S. Open? I mean, that's
a different one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different one, especially when you're at a bowling center where, you know, there's 70 lanes there. So, you know, obviously I'm not in those decision-making positions anymore. So, but you know, the field they get is an elite field, and you know, 100 and some guys bowling for 20 some spots, I think was what it was at the U.S. Open, and then there's only 110, I think, or so in the actual field. So, it's a star-studded field, and you know, it makes it the cream comes to the top in those smaller fields for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, back in the 90s and 2000s, I mean, you were definitely on top. I mean, I'd see you every week on TV, it seems. What was a tournament that your, you know, best tournament performance where you did everything and everything just lined up for you to win? What would you say that which tournament sticks out to be that for you?
You know, obviously we talked about Green Bay. That was one where I just felt good from the start. The 300 game with Wichita would be one, but then if you look at the U.S. Open in '89 for me, and there's a couple of those I had where, you know, I just did enough every round to make the cut, and I qualified 24th in match play at the U.S. Open, and ended up going all the way to win. So. When you can come from 24th in 24 games and get to the title, that's those things have to break for you there. And I did that there as well as in Atlantic City at the Showboat.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's all right. But yeah, that's so those. I mean, I think that those are ones where, you know, you have to have, when you're just barely getting in and you're kind of chasing the field. You've got to get some things have to be going good for you to get not only that far, but to get to the top and finish it off.
Yeah. When you shot 300 in Wichita, you were wearing you had the Pizza Hut logo. Did you get a free pizza from Pizza Hut?
No, we were actually we were trying. Wichita had a big base of Pizza Hut there. They were I don't know if their offices were there but they had a large group of restaurants there. So proprietor Frank DeSocio had me wear that and the PBA to see if we could maybe tap into them and have them become a sponsor, but it didn't work out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes that works out that way. Want to say hello to Steve F. He was talking about the U.S. Open in '89. You were playing down the center of the lane in that show. He remembers.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Black Udon.
Where's if PBA Landman says, okay, Mike, you're going to be the PBA Landman, and you know, and you're still on tour. How would you dress the lanes? Where would you rather play, deep inside or down and in, you know, up the gutter?
You know, I always like to play wherever I felt like I could hit the pocket and strike. It really didn't matter to me whether it was, you know, fourth arrow, first board. I mean, as a young junior bowler, I grew up trying to bounce it off one. So that was always fun and the better carry angle from there usually. But I found out that, you know, I could carry just as well inside, and my speed would, as long as I could get it down the lane, my speed would help me when I played inside.
So the 03-04 season was your last season on tour, I believe. Was
Yeah.
the exempt tour too grueling? Why was the 03-04 your last year on tour?
40, 43, 44 years old, and son's a freshman in high school and daughter's in first grade, and I miss a cut, and I'm stuck in LA, and my daughter's doing something at school, my son's playing hockey, and
Hmm.
my wife's at home taking care of everything, and I just didn't have the drive left to keep up with the kids,
Hmm.
as far as practicing and excuse me, and it just I wanted to be with my family, so that
Yeah.
was I just didn't have the drive and desire left to do it.
Yeah, there you go. How is the family doing today?
Everybody's good. Son's 32 and daughter's 25, and yeah, my wife and I have been married almost 40 years now. So yeah, things have been great, and we've got bowling center in Lafayette, Indiana, Arrowhead Bowl, and we've
Hmm.
had that for 25 years. This is our 25th season there,
Hmm.
and then we also own and operate two ice skating rinks, and we
Hmm.
operate an outdoor skating rink for the city we live in.
That's excellent. Big shout out to Tammy and CJ and your daughter as well. What's her name? I'm sorry.
Danielle.
Danielle. Yep. Okay. Yeah. So let's see. What was your favorite stop on tour?
Oh, let's see. I mean, I always enjoyed the summer tour bowling in Seattle.
Mhm.
Never made a show there. I think my best finish was 23rd, maybe. But in the summer tour, it just was gorgeous there. I mean, Mount Rainier off to the side, the sun and the moon's up at the same time. I mean, it just a gorgeous, gorgeous area of the Northwest. So I always enjoyed bowling up there, but that was more of the city's draw, not necessarily how I bowled there. But bowling wise, the showboat was always, I think I won 6 titles there, counting Steve Cook and I's 3 doubles. So, but the showboat was just one that a lot of great memories there. My wife's mother and father would always come over, and it just was a fun family week. And like I said, the doubles events, Steve and I had so much fun. We are able to win 3 of them, and just a lot of great memories there.
That's excellent. What was your least favorite stop on tour?
Hmm. Anyone I didn't make any money at, but let me see. What would be my worst one? It's one that should have been good for me, but it wasn't. And luckily, we only bowled there a couple years after I got on tour. But I never bowled well in Waukegan, Illinois, at
Mhm.
Bertrand Lanes. But Earl used to own that place. I mean, he not actually own it, just on the lanes when he bowled there. But yeah, I never could figure that out. So I just never did that well there at all. And Earl, he dominated it there.
Well, where didn't Earl dominate?
But
I
that's
mean,
true.
that guy
I-
was,
He
you know,
could dial in better than anybody I ever saw. Yeah,
yeah. I'll never forget the day I found out that he passed. I was watching Sports Center, and all of a sudden, because I
yeah.
mean, unfortunately, Sports Center never does anything with bowling, and then all of a sudden, I see them do some of Earl's shots in the senior, and then they mentioned that he passed because he fell, and that was just I couldn't believe that.
I was in my car and I heard it on the radio. Yeah,
Mm,
strange. I
yeah,
agree. Know where I was at.
wow. So when I had a chance to talk to Tim Chris and asked him, uh, when Tuesday or Wednesday night or Saturday or Sunday afternoon, what tournament is easier to get ready for, like for the finals?
Oh gosh, I would say you mean as far as the show, which tournament?
Right. I mean, just like, okay, would you rather Saturday afternoon at 3, Sunday at
Oh,
1,
I
or like Wednesday night at 7:30 or whatever?
well, I would say Saturday afternoon at 3, only because the historical value of what that meant when I bowled.
Of
You
course.
mean, there was nothing like ABC television, Bo Burton and Chris Schenkel and, Wide World of Sports afterwards. And just, you knew if you made that show, there was a lot of people watching that. And it was a big deal. When you're on the winter tour and you made a show, during that time frame, I mean, it was phenomenal how many people would, either congratulate you or, hey, saw you, or, almost every week was like doing a major event because it was viewed by so many people.
Yeah, definitely. So I have a buddy that is that we talk bowling quite a bit, and he for a long time he would talk about your win at the 96 Touring Players Championship over
Oh,
Parker Bone. I mean,
yeah.
that was a nutty high scoring match. What was that like?
Yeah, it really I mean, it was quite yeah, quite crazy. The building, was phenomenal, and the fans there were just great. I mean, it was a Brunswick sponsored event, so it was big for all of us that, were part of Brunswick. I was on a shirt deal at that time with Brunswick, and even though I did use a Brunswick ball there as well, but,
Mhm.
yeah, so it was quite exciting, and there were so many strikes being thrown, and the place was just rocking, but to get up there and have to throw a double in the 10th, and those are the situations that my old sponsor Don Mitchell and partner Don Mitchell, a proprietor here from Indianapolis, and would always tell me, you know it means so much more when you want to be in that position. You want to, they're storybook positions. Yeah, I would say, oh, I'd rather just have to keep it on the lane, but you know and he was right. After it's over, if you're able to do it, if you're able to complete that finish, it's the most rewarding finish there is, when you perform when you have to. And so when I go up in the 10th frame, I just want to have an opportunity. I don't want to be sitting on the bench and have to leave it in my opponent's hands. So and I threw a great shot the first one, and the second one I threw good.
Mhm.
I just got a great break, and rolled out the 7 and the 10, and it's just it was just so exciting. And of course, Parker, the consummate professional and gentleman, and you know, obviously hates to lose as much as anybody,
Mhm.
but he's he's just up front, and he feels for you as well. So he's a great friend, and he's got a great family, and he means so much to our industry.
Yeah. So going back to the uh Green Bay tournament, I don't mean to go back, but it seemed like you were having some trouble with a still photographer. What was going on with that, and how distracting is that?
It's during. I mean, it's like the tour. They used to do the thing there for a while. They try to have everybody clap at one time,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that stuff doesn't bother you. I mean, it's when it's constant, it's not a bother.
Mhm.
But when it's quiet, all of a sudden you hear something out of the corner of your eyesight, or you hear something, then they might as well be banging a drum. Then it's like I go back to the game I shot 140 in Baltimore. What
Mhm.
happened to me there too was somebody yelled, "Come on, Mike!" right as I'm coming
Mhm.
through with the ball early. So then after that, every shot I was trying to anticipate that happening. So, and it was the same way there. It's just the guy decided, especially going for 300, as the shots started going, then this one photographer kept trying to get the shot where it's right in my hand as I'm releasing it. He just kept trying to get that shot. And so you hear the power winder, and I'm a photographer. I enjoy the photography part of it. And
Mhm.
so, but that's what I was hearing. It's dead quiet, and then he's just trying to get that last second shot. So,
Mhm.
uh,
So, what happens with those shots? Because I mean, everything's being filmed on TV. So, what is the photographer
they're
expecting to do with those shots?
Well, they're down about three-quarters the way on, if you're looking, from the TV angle down towards the pins. They're going to be on the next pair of lanes to the right of the TV
Mhm.
pair, and they're behind a curtain,
Mhm.
or a tarp. They're, a pipe and drape type situation, and uh, they'll have holes cut out for their lens. So uh, that's where they're at.
Mhm.
But you can still hear that power winder go if it, because it's so quiet until you release it. The people are so quiet, the fans. But so that's what was catching me.
Yeah. Now I do remember that you were bowling on TV in Taylor, Michigan in 1999, and you were talking about I guess somebody got you right on your downswing, and I think it kind of affected. I can't remember if it was a single pin spare miss or something like that, but do you remember anything about that shot?
I don't remember that one exactly. I had probably half a dozen of those, through my
Mhm.
career,
Mhm.
80 some shows, I guess. And, there's about half a dozen where, there was some sort of movement somewhere that might catch you. And,
Mhm.
and most of the time you just got to let the tournament director know. And, it doesn't help that shot. It's already done. But,
Right.
uh, I mean, it's how you handle them, and I guess I got better at handling them as we went on. But first off, it becomes a shock, and then you gotta reload and start over. I mean, it's one of those, like I said, it's one of those things where you can't go back and shoot it over. The only one I ever saw shot over was the one
Mhm.
Bob missed the spare, and I think it was against Parker, I think.
It was, yep.
Harry, yeah, which I mean, the Parker was pretty good about that. I don't know anybody else that would have been all
What
for.
would you have done?
Yeah, I mean, I would have voiced my opinion. I mean, they've never done that before,
No.
uh, and I'm not sure there was precedent for that, but it happened. You
Mhm.
know, so it's a tough call to put the player in on either side, Bob or Parker. I mean, that's
Right.
a position to be in on either side of that decision. But I mean, obviously Parker would have won otherwise.
Right, yeah, and that's what he said. He said, "I would give Bob that shot back over 100 times, but my mother, nope,
Yeah,
that's
I
done."
totally understand it. Totally understand that.
Yeah. So, Paul wants to know if Scott Devers still works for you, and is he still involved in, bowling?
Yeah, Scott is still around. Scott has retired. Scott's my partner up
Mhm,
in Arrowhead,
mhm,
and he's a Hoosier here from Indiana, but he is retired from the day-to-day management side of it,
mhm,
and has built a home down in Cape Coral, Florida. And we he still consults for us, and he's still the executive director of the Bowling Proprietors Association of Indiana, as
mhm.
well as he helps out. The National Bowling Proprietors Association as well in a couple of different committees. So yeah, Scott's still heavily involved.
Scott Devers, a four-time PBA champion, and I do not know if he has any majors. I believe I know his high finish that I know of is second in the U.S. Open in '92.
Yeah, that Trip Six Brooklyn from Robert Lawrence, I believe, got him.
Yep. Yeah. Always happens that way sometimes, huh? Where did the tour never go that you wish they had gone?
Oh goodness. I tell you what, from watching, I mean, they've been going there for a little while now, but that Bayside Bowl in Maine, man, that looks like,
Yeah.
man, that
Yeah.
looks like a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh. That is a lot of fun. And now, we don't know each other all that well, but I am absolute PBA super fan. And when I go there, I buy you guys drinks and on purpose and because I
Yeah.
love you guys and like you guys are absolute heroes to me and you as well. Man, to watch what you've done in your career, I mean, really congratulations on everything you've accomplished and really thanks for letting me watch.
Well, it's one of those things where I've been very fortunate through the years, and gosh, I've had a blast. I mean, it just still do. I mean, it's one of those things when you go out there as an 18-year-old kid, and I just want to make a living at it and be able to
Mhm.
stay out there as long as I could. And I had so many good people behind me, let alone my parents and my wife, and Don Mitchell sponsored me for those years, and
Mm.
I was fortunate all the way through, and now to be the president of the Bowling Museum and Hall of Fame, and just things like that. I mean, there's I don't dream dreams this good. I mean, I'm just so fortunate.
Mhm. So, Mike, when was the last time you bowled 300? You remember?
Might have been, let's see, it probably was in North Carolina there when we bowled the Tar Heel Open in '03.
Oh, okay. Well, you're gonna bowl a 300 game right now, and it's gonna be just using your voice. We're gonna go flush in the pocket, and a couple other podcasts do 10 frames. Well, I kind of wanted to be different. Flush in the pocket is, of course, a perfect strike. So perfect game in bowling is 12 strikes. So 12 questions. Just random stuff. So I guess let's go.
Sure.
Uh, Favorite sports team?
Let's say the Indianapolis Colts.
Okay. So you touched on
So,
it off air, but your favorite hockey team?
oh, New York Islanders.
Okay, all right. Um, when on tour, what did you do to take your mind off of bowling?
We were big into I collect sports cards, sports memorabilia. I'm a collector.
Hmm. Yeah, that is that is awesome.
Still,
Go ahead.
still am.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
Uh, what's your favorite food?
pizza.
Okay. So, question for you. Mine too, because I could eat it all day.
Yep.
I take mine two ways, either pepperoni
Yep.
or Hawaiian. Pineapple does belong on pizza. You have a problem with that?
I have a problem with that. No, I haven't really eaten that much. The pepperoni thing, yeah, that's pepperoni and sausage would be me.
Yeah. There you go. Favorite music?
Uh, Pretty much 70s and 80s, but Journey's my number one.
I'm a country guy, but I like a lot of Journey songs. I've noticed. I've realized.
Now, Steve Perry, it's Steve Perry, but yeah, it's now I've started to get attuned to country. They've changed a lot in the last several years. So
Mm-hmm. Check out. I have an internet radio station. You can find it at b105radio.com. It's a country station. I've wanted to be in radio since I was 12. So
I'll
check.
check. Yeah, you
Definitely.
should, obviously.
What's that?
You said you should be. Obviously, you got the voice and the knowledge and all that. Yeah, it's perfect.
Wow, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. What was your first car?
65 Mustang Fastback.
Still have it?
No, I had it when I was 16, and then my senior year in high school, 1978, Halloween night, it got hit by a train with me driving it.
Oh wow! And you didn't get hurt?
I had about 60 stitches, a concussion, and luckily my foot got caught underneath the brake pedal, and my head took the windshield out. But I was able to bowl a week later, so very
Wow.
very fortunate. Yeah, very
Okay.
lucky.
There you go. So I know we touched on it, but favorite tour format?
Yeah, it'd be the major formats.
Mhm.
The basically 56 game format, eight game blocks all week.
Would you have liked to bowl the All Star if you could have?
Oh, of course, yeah.
100
For
games.
instance, the number part of the games, but you know, A plus one would be the just the people who were bowled in that era
Mhm.
it would have just been a blast.
So what is it? Is it what do you like about the longer formats? Is it that you can have a couple bad games? How many bad games do you think you could have in, like, let's say they don't do more than 56? How many bad games do you think you could have in a 56 game format and still have a shot to make the show?
Well, I mean, bad games. Let's you can't have those 130s, but
Mm,
you get away with a couple of 160, 170s in there. Everything else needs to be, it just depends the scoring pace. Now, if the scoring pace is low, then you can get away with more lower games. But if the scoring pace is high, you can't, those 150s, you're giving away 100 pins in one game in those higher paced ones.
mhm. Best advice ever given?
I have to go back to my parents, treat people the way you want to be treated.
Mhm,
I think that's the one thing that, what I've always tried to, since I was a kid, try to do, and that's what makes it so much fun. Just when I was out on the tour, just meeting people, and obviously, just I enjoy doing I was more than excited to be on your podcast and just talk about history of the game. And I mean, it's what I love to do. Is to talk about the history of what I've been able to do and just what everybody else does. And there's no better thing than do that.
So, favorite toy as a child?
Oh gosh, I always go back to GI Joes at Christmas time because my brother was in the Navy and all that, and we always got those in the '60s, mid '60s.
Wow. So I got to tell you this. So I've been a bowler my whole life, and as a matter of fact, I got to tell you this quick story. When I was 4 years old. So I've got a couple disabilities and my visual impairment or whatever. Where my vision's kind of weak, my hearing is strong. Now I'm sure you've seen candlepin bowling, right?
Seen it, never
Okay.
done that.
Okay. Well, candlepin bowling is louder than 10-pin bowling,
Oh,
unless you're Dave Traber and you're, like, I mean, can you
my,
imagine 80 lanes of Dave Traber just throwing nothing but loud strikes? I mean, he can throw some loud strikes. But anyway, so it was so loud that I had to be taken out because my ears were so sensitive.
oh goodness.
And then 4 years later, I'm back in, and I mean, I love it. Like, I mean, I'm very serious. I'm very serious during league and tournaments only because I'll never be able to play on the stage that you guys played on.
Yeah.
But so if I'm there, I might as well do well. So kind of touched on it. Do you still bowl, and does your family bowl?
Like I said, I bowl the USBC Open Champs, my 9 games a year, pretty much.
Mhm.
I've kicked around maybe bowling the senior league one of these years, but I don't know. Well, maybe next year we'll think about that. And my wife used to bowl, but it's been about 30 years or so. My son didn't bowl till he got into college, and then my daughter bowls for fun here and there, but that's it.
No 300s on does your
No, no,
no?
none of that. No.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to do something out of the book of Andrew Pfeffer. Who do you think I should try to get to do this podcast? Who do you think would be a great guest?
I mean, Steve Cook's one that's got, he's got all sides of it. He's a bowling proprietor. He's been a PBA champion. He's wholesale business. He's doing archery again from when he was a champion when he was a teenager. And Steve's really good, and he's one of the classy, nice guys in our industry. For sure. Um, we lost a couple here recently. Dave Davis would have been.
Mhm.
And then one who was one of my first roommates on tour, Randy Stoughton. I don't know if you know of Randy, but
I do.
yeah. And, Randy was one of my first, when we went out on tour in 79. And Randy had one of the most diverse, I guess, careers in our industry that anybody I can even think of. I mean, he was a pro bowler. He drilled bowling balls on tour for Larry Lickstein. He ran player services. Then he worked for Ebonitis in sales, and
Mhm.
obviously a high level coach, and that a collegiate coach and champion. And it just unbelievable. Nobody has ever, that I know of, has ever done all those different positions in our industry. And
Mhm.
unfortunately we lost him a few months ago. And he was from here in Indianapolis originally. And I more and more I think about it, it's just I don't think anybody was ever more involved in different things than Randy was in our industry, and then excelled at all of them.
Absolutely, and also want to say that our condolences go out to John Falzone and his family
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
his loss, and that's terrible. So Mike, really,
Warren makes Del Warren might be one to look at as well. Del coached with Randy,
Mhm.
uh, and also Del Warren and I go way back to 1978 in the All American Youth Championships when the graduating seniors we bowled in Greenwich, Connecticut for the national championship, and
Mhm.
I got beat the last game. Jim Poulos, a lefty out of Northern California, won it, and Del
Mhm.
Warren finished third. And on the women's side, upcoming Hall of Famer Cheryl Daniels won the girls' side.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was quite a start of a year. But and I got to know Del pretty well back then, so it was kind of nice. But Del's another one that's got quite the career and within the industry as well.
I will definitely try to get a hold of him. I don't think I don't know how I would get a hold of Steve, but I would definitely love to talk to Mr. Cook and go from there. So, Mike, seriously, thank you very much for doing this. And that was Mike AULBY, Flush in the Pocket. Thank you very much for your time, and just thank you very much for doing this.
Well, Derek, thanks a lot. And I apologize. I kept my self in the dark. I couldn't figure out the camera on this end. So maybe
That's all
if you
right.
have it back, I'll figure out the camera and you can see what an aged 62-year-old looks like here. But thank you so much. And hit me up for Steve's contact. And thanks for what you do for bowling and keeping us out there on the airwaves there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my friend. And I will be talking to you in just a couple of minutes. And thank you. And everybody have a good night. And thanks for watching.
Thank you.
All right, bye. Hold on.